Good morning, class. This is your English teacher, Sir Sanjay. I welcome you all to yet another session of online classes, wherein we discuss lessons of English, Honeysuckle text, English course book, and grammar. As we are unable to attend school on regular basis like we used to, and you are all aware of the reasons, right? So, without any further ado and wastage of time, let's begin today's lesson with a lesson being named the Banyan tree. So do you all know what banyan tree is? I'm sure most of you all know, right? So to add idea to your knowledge, banyan tree is a tree with branches that put out roots, which grow downwards till they kind of, reach the ground. Okay. Then they will be forming new trunk. This trunk in return will help them to support the main trunk. Clear? So it's a massive tree is what you should know. Alright, that put out its root downward. Okay. So now let us begin the lesson, the 10th lesson of your English Honeysuckle text. The pending poems and all will also be discussed, do not worry. But let's start it up with a bit of preface before we study. So you ask, have you seen a mongoose? I'm not sure how many of you have seen. Maybe you have seen in Animal Planet channels, Discovery channels, these and that. Mongoose are very fierce fighter, right? They know how to fight snakes and all. And in 9th lesson we have studied. See, you have read in lesson 9 that a mongoose can fight with a snake and kill it, right? How are they so easily able to counter attack or fight with animal or reptile as fierce and as poison as a snake is? Because of their agility. They are very agile, they are fast movers. Okay, so we'll look at the pictures and read lines given below with them. Okay, so it's a warm-up section. If not necessary, I'll avoid it. So banyan tree, I've already told you what banyan tree is. So see, this is a mongoose and this of course is a snake. They are in a fight. In 9 out of 10 time, not in 9 out of 10 time, in most time if I say, mongoose is the one which defeats a snake. Okay. See, the fight of cobra and the mongoose is a classic drama often seen in India, and the outcome is largely the same. The mongoose is not immune to the venomous bite. It's not like mongoose is immune. Means it is not like he is not likely to die if he is bitten by the snake. He also will die. Clear? He is not immune to snake bites. Clear? But how does it dodge it? The reason is the mongoose is fast. Okay. But it is faster and quicker in motion, in movement than the snake. The mongoose, the main advantage or the upper hand that mongoose has over snake is its its ability. Okay, agility. I've already told you it's a fast mover. Clear? This is what helps the mongoose win battle. Clear? The cobra assumes a posture of defense and attempts to reach the animal by sweeping strike. But the quick moving mongoose jumps out of reach and comes at the snake from another direction. Clear? So see, this is the cobra. It will be raising its hood and then try to attack sharply over the mongoose's head or somewhere it's lying nearby. Clear? What the mongooses do, since it's a fast mover, it will try to dodge its strike and then move to some other direction, let's say somewhere here, and then it will try to strike the snake from this direction. And in doing so, what will happen? The snake will continuously try to strike, the mongoose will continuously try to dodge the strike, and in doing so the snake will get completely exhausted, tired, and by taking advantage of that situation, the mongoose will strike it continuously and strike it hard, thereby defeating and killing the snake. Okay. See, reach comes out at the snake from another direction before the snake can get into the striking position. This is what the mongoose does. Clear? It slowly vanquishes and attacks and strikes. Okay, this constant movement tires and discourages the snake, and the mongoose is finally able to leap close and bury its tit into the snake's neck, usually severing the joints of its vertebrae. So what happened? It kind of cracks the joint of the snake's vertebrae, thereby killing it. Okay, by taking the advantage of the snake's tiredness. Okay, this is a wonderful policy, you can say. Okay, wait for your opponent, fight it up front, and then strike. Okay, you must have seen a banyan tree. I'm sure most of you have seen. This is a story about what the author saw as young boy of your age when he was sitting in an old banyan tree in his grandfather's house. Okay, houses these days, they do not have trees and all. In the olden times, so years before, there used to be plenty of trees and all growing in a house. Okay, now towns have kind of taken over the healthy sort of lifestyle, the greeneries we used to have. Clear? So trees and all used to be a common thing in the house which our forefathers had. Okay, so now let's begin the first part. Okay, first para. Though the house and grounds belong to my grandparents, the magnificent means wonderful here, the magnificent old banyan tree was mine, chiefly because grandfather at 65 could no longer climb it. Okay, so in the first paragraph, stanza is used for poems. So in the first paragraph, what do we see? The boy talks about a wonderful house which belongs to his grandfather, and at the same time he says there is a banyan tree growing in the house. Okay, in the periphery of the house, to be precise. He claims the ownership of the banyan tree to himself, saying that his grandfather was too old to climb. Okay, because at 65 nobody climbs a tree, right? Have you ever seen an old man of 65 climbing a tree? So it must be rare. It does not happen usually. Okay, so now 2, it's spreading branches. What do you mean by spreading branches? The branches that are growing far and wide. Clear? It's spreading branches which hung to the ground and took root again, forming number of twisting passages, gave me endless pleasure. So the boy was quite happy to be nearby the tree. Okay, that's how it grow, the way the tree used to grow here and there with twist and passages was something the boy used to be really very excited about. Okay, we are here. I suggest you to open your book alongside if you have problem with the visibility of the video. So among them were squirrels and snails and butterflies. So among them were what? Animals like squirrels used to be there, then snails, the slow moving creature, and then the wonderful butterflies. Okay, the tree was older than the house, older than grandfather, as old as Dehradun itself. I could hide myself in its branches behind thick green leaves and spy on the world below. So this is what the writer is saying. It was a very old tree. Okay, it was even older than the house or his grandfather, and for that matter it was as old as Dehradun, this wonderful hill station. Okay, so the boy used to find great pleasure, by climbing on the branches of the banyan tree and then observing the town through the tree. Okay, he used to feel like a spy who was keeping an eye on the world. You know spy, right? Moving on to third. My first friend was a small grey squirrel. So young people, young boys and girls, they have strange oddity. They love talking to trees and animal, right? So the narrator or the writer was no different. Okay, he made a small grey squirrel as his first friend. Okay, arching his back and sniffing into the air. Sniffing, to sniff is to try and get smell of whatever is circulating in and around you. Clear? So arching his back and sniffing into the air, he seemed at first to resent my invasion of his privacy. Okay, so writer says, with the way the squirrel reacted in the beginning, it appeared to him as though he used to resent Means he used to be angry of the fact that the writer was now spending time at the banyan tree. Okay, so he used to resent my invasion of privacy. Means in the beginning it was only the squirrel and the other animal, but now the writer had started going there. Okay, so this was in a way, disturbing the squirrel, thereby disturbing his privacy also. That's a funny sort of expression. Okay, but when he found that I did not arm myself with catapult or air gun, he became friendly. Catapult, right? I do not basically like this thing. It is, what do you call it? There will be a rubber and then a central sort of leather that would form some sort of pulley to, sort of stuck a small piece of pebble in it, and then there will be cross wooden framework which will act like its main body, giving it the framework structure. Okay, so young boys use it for various purposes, like some of them use it for purpose which are not very pleasant, like aiming at birds. And also, if one of you or if anybody does that, we should never practice things of those kind. Okay, so something like this you must have seen, right? And then there'll be a rubber band, and then there'll be leather sort of thing. Yeah, this is catapult. Okay, so but when he found that the writer did not have any catapult, air gun, or whatever is used to scare or threaten animal, he started getting friendly. Okay, and when I started bringing him pieces of cake and biscuit, he grew quite bold and he was soon taking morsels from hand. Okay, so when the writer started bringing him biscuit and all, he started becoming bolder, means braver. He started appearing in front of the writer as though he was becoming friendly. Okay, so there came a time when he started taking morsel, means pieces of biscuit from the hand of the writer. Okay, thereby suggesting that he was beginning to accept him. Okay, so before long he was delving into my pockets. Delving means going deep into his pocket. He was delving into my pockets and helping himself to whatever he could find. So young boys usually keep in a lot of stuff into their pocket, right? So this squirrel used to dive deep into the writer's pocket in order to find whether there is any sort of eatable or anything of his use. Okay, he was very young squirrel, and his friends and relatives probably thought him foolish and headstrong for trusting a human. Clear? So he said, maybe his friends and relatives used to make fun of him, probably for trusting a human being over his own kind. Okay, so in the spring, when the banyan tree was full of small red figs, just a second. Yeah, so in the spring, when the banyan tree was full of small red figs, birds of all kinds would flock into its branches. Okay, so into its branches, here it refers to the banyan tree. Clear? Spring season, right? This wonderful season in the month of usually, let's say, February and all. Clear? The weather is not that cold, neither that warm. It's a very wonderful, blissful season. Clear? In this season, the banyan tree is full of small red figs. What is fig? It's a soft, sweet fruit full of small sweets. Clear? So during this season, birds of all kind would flock, kind of fly in group into the branches of the banyan tree. Okay, the red-bottom bulbul. So he has mentioned a few birds which would flock into the branches during this spring season. The red-bottom bulbul. You already know what bulbul is, right? It's a very sweet bird, cheerful and greedy. Yeah, the red-bottom bulbul, cheerful and greedy. Okay, they were happy and greedy, wanting more and more. Parrots, myna and crows squabbling with one another. What is the meaning of squabbling? They were making quite they were chirping and making noise. Okay, the word squabbling basically means noisy argument, as if they were talking and arguing with one another. Okay, during the fig season, the banyan tree was the noisiest place in the garden. Okay, so during the fig season, it used to be the noisiest place for the birds flocking in and around the banyan tree, giving it a wonderful sort of appearance. Okay, the writer used to love it altogether. Okay, so fifth para is where we are now. Halfway up the tree, I had built a crude platform where I would spend the afternoon when it was not too hot. Okay, so the writer had built a platform where he would be sitting and spending his afternoon. Okay, during the days, basically in the time of spring when it's not too hot in the afternoon. Clear? So he used to enjoy every bit of his childhood. Okay. I could read there, propping myself up against the tree with a cushion from the living room. So it was wonderful the way he used to, spend time sitting at the top of the tree by propping himself. Means by leaning against the tree as though he was sitting in a comfortable, sofa or something with a cushion from the living room. So he used to bring in a cushion and then lean against the tree. Okay, sitting comfortably by stretching himself and enjoying the view or whatever he was watching from the top of the tree. Okay, he also used to read some books there. It must be wonderful. Just imagine you're sitting on top of a banyan tree leaning against thick sturdy branches with a cushion on your head. Okay, and then you are treated, you have with you some wonderful children book to study, namely Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn, and the story of Doolittle. Okay, so these are some wonderful children's story to read. If you haven't read, you can read them. Okay, Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn, and the story of Dr. Doolittle were some of the books that made up my banyan tree library. So he used to keep these books and then read them from time to time. Okay, so all in all, if we take a look at the kind of time he the kind of the way he has described his venture at the banyan tree, it seems quite enjoyable, isn't it? He used to sit there and then read trees and watch the birds. He made friends with squirrel and so on. It was quite exciting. Okay, let's continue reading. When I did not feel like reading, I could look down through the leaves at the world below. Okay, so when he was no more interested in reading, he used to peep through the leaves at the world below, what was going in and around the world or what was happening elsewhere. He used to peep and look. Okay, and on one particular afternoon, I had a grandstand view of that classic of the Indian wilds, a fight between a mongoose and a cobra. So one afternoon would be such where he would be watching a grand fight between a mongoose and a cobra. We have already discussed what a mongoose is, and a cobra is what one of the most poisonous snakes in India. Okay, and in world also, to be precise. So here is a wonderful phrase called a grandstand view. Let's try to understand what is the meaning of the word grandstand view. Okay, so let me zoom it up. The glossary has already provided the meaning of this word. So what is the meaning of the word grandstand view? It is here. It's a clear view from the best position. Okay, so if you are getting grandstand view, you are watching something spectacular from a position which is quite comfortable, or to be precise, from a position where you are comfortably sitting and watching things in HD live action. Okay, in the best of position possible. Okay, so what is a grandstand? A grandstand is a large covered space with rows of seats for people to watch sports. Usually it happens in cricket stadium, football stadium, and so on. Okay, so if you are in a grandstand, you are placed or seated comfortably to watch the live action. Okay, so he The writer simply, referred to the match or to the tussle or to the fight between the cobra and the what? And the what? Mongoose, of course, right? As something extraordinary. Okay, he described it as a classic of the Indian wild animal. Okay, so fight between Indian cobra and mongoose, simply love watching the same. Okay, so now let's take up the second part of the story.
So this is what, and on one particular afternoon, he had the grandstand view of the classic of the Indian wilds, a fight between mongoose and a cobra. Okay, so class, we will wind up our explanation session for the 10th lesson here today. I'll explain the rest of the chapter in the next class. Okay, thank you for being part of today's class. It was wonderful to be sharing my experience of this chapter with you all. Keep learning, keep working. Thank you.